Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the YouTube channel. I am John Kurtz. Please click subscribe if you haven't. If you're a college football fan, if you're a Big 12 football fan, please do it right now. I'm churning out all kinds of conference realignment content as this continues to swirl and swirl. And also, like the video and comment. It helps me out a ton. I'll just level with you. It helps me out in my pocketbook out a ton, but also it ensures that I'm going to give you more content. So that's kind of the deal. Plus, it's fun. If you hate me, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I try to respond to as many of you as I can. Look, I love college football. I love college football fans. I love the passion. I just love the interaction, man. So please keep that coming. What we have today hits close to home for me because what we have today is a report. You could call it a report, maybe some speculation mixed in with a report on Kansas to the Big Ten, and that being, quote unquote, imminent. That was the word that's been thrown around quite a bit today. Now, what this stems from is a radio interview on 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City, a great station and a great show. It's The Drive with Carrington Harrison and Rob Brenton, two guys that I consider to be good friends, and I think they do excellent radio. Now, they had Mike Vernon on, who does not right now work, I think, like a 9 to 5 in the sports journalism industry, but has in the past and graduated from Kansas. And Kansas folks will tell you is pretty plugged in with the program. And I believe the claim to fame there really, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe the claim to fame there was some reporting that he did with Jeff Long and Les Miles being fired here fairly recently, obviously the former AD and head coach at Kansas. So there's a little background on where exactly this is coming from, but everybody sees the tweet. And it was actually a third party that really lit this on fire on Twitter who came in and said, hey, at Mike Vernon just said on 610 Sports Radio that Kansas to the Big Ten is imminent. All right, there's been some backpedaling on Twitter from Mike Vernon since then and all parties involved here. But I think the fairest thing is to just let you hear the audio, right? Because everybody hears or sees rather the tweet. They don't actually hear the audio and how it was all laid out. So just in fairness to all parties, here's the audio from the interview, which again was on 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City. It's The Drive with Carrington Harrison, Rob Brenton, two great dudes. They do a great show. It's an Odyssey station. And here's what Mike Vernon had to say.
All right, I'll tell you what. In the last 30 minutes or so, the vibe has started to change on my end. I was all prepared, had all my facts ready to go for you. There's been these rumors all day that KU is headed toward the Big Ten. I kind of dismissed it as message board fodder. I'm starting to hear it from some people who I consider to be pretty reliable, that this thing is imminent. I'm not ready to say it for sure, but I'll tell you what, there's some smoke coming out of Lawrence right now.
When you say imminent, are we talking about this week, next couple weeks?
Like, I would say next couple weeks, maybe by next week. I'm trying to work on getting this thing 100%, but I think it's enough where I'm talking to you about it right now.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit of breaking news here. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
I can't quite go all in on it because I'm trying to cross confirm and get it from multiple people. I'm not running with anything totally yet. The rumor mill is pretty wild. I'll say all along, Kansas has been, or people around KU have been very confident, like weirdly so. You would think that this could be reason to panic for some people. That's not been the case, and it's almost like when I talk to people, it's almost like they know something that I don't. That's the kind of confidence I'm getting, like there's a smirk involved, and I can't quite figure it out, but the general vibe all along has been KU is going to be all right. And part of that is, I think the ACC also maybe was going to be home for him, but I'm trying to track this down right now. We definitely have some chatter about the Big Ten.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like Kansas is potentially trending towards the Big Ten. Maybe that's the way that we could say it. I don't want to make your report for you, but it sounds like they're trending towards joining the Big Ten.
Yeah. I mean, the confidence thing I've been like, am I getting lied to? But I think this is moving in a direction that KU fans would be happy about. Certainly, I have the KU perspective on things. But try to filter that down as much as I can. Kind of wild that this has been, this all came from some UT message board insider, which I hate to go off of. But it has not gone away, and I've tried to shoot it down. So stay tuned. Keep following me on M_Vernon. We're going to figure this thing out for real.
Okay, so there you have it. You can draw your own conclusions based on what it is that you just heard. Now, there's been some walking back of this message on Twitter since then. Like I said, I think the general thought and feel there was it got spun out of control more than what it actually was. And I mean, it started landing on the desk, at least of some of the national guys. And Stuart Mandel was busy tweeting and responding to a bunch of Kansas fans. For instance, Brett McMurphy did have a little quip that he got off about this. It's also been a hot message board rumor, and I kind of hate that I know that, but I am somebody who grew up with college football message boards, right? When I say I love the passion of college football, it's what I grew up with, man. I like that culture, but it does have its flaws. However, Orange Bloods, which is a Texas message board, that had the rumor. A Michigan State 24/7 site is another screenshot I saw going around from Kansas fans where they were saying, hey, it's all the wheels are in motion. Kansas to the Big Ten, it's going to happen. Look, here's the bottom line. I do think there's a non-zero chance that Kansas winds up in the Big Ten. I just think logic would tell you there's no way it would be in motion this soon or anything would be imminent. And when I say soon, I mean like I'm talking months, maybe years down the road this could happen, Kansas to the Big Ten. I just don't think the logic adds up to it right now because everything is coming from the Kansas side here. Let's take a step back and evaluate it from the Big Ten standpoint, right? The Big Ten is a major player. This is a big dog. They're right there with the SEC, and they are feeling the pressure right now to run with the big dog, the SEC. The SEC's projected payouts per school with Oklahoma and Texas added here would be $67 million. I believe that's in 2024 also when their new contract, their new TV contract kicks in. So $67 million per team in payouts. The Big Ten right now is $54 million per team in payouts. So if you're the Big Ten, you have to be looking around thinking like, we need to keep pace somehow. We need to be adding really valuable entities that are going to tangibly add dollars to what it is that we're trying to do. So you're telling me that the response from the Big Ten in that scenario to the SEC adding two of the biggest brands in college football is to add literally the worst Power 5 football program out there that's won a combined 9 games in the last 5 years and sits in one of the least populated states in the country and isn't even the only major Power 5 school in said state. So you're talking about what, 60% or so of the fans in one of the least populated states in the country. That is what you're going to add to answer Texas and Oklahoma being added to the Big 12. That does not add up to me. The other thing I look at is, okay, how have the national reporters been handling this? Because when the Texas-Oklahoma report first came out from, that was Houston, right? The Houston Chronicle, I think it was Brent Zwerman. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. When he put that report out, it immediately started getting traction, confirmation. It was being treated very seriously by the national media. Right now, all the national plugged-in reporting on the Big Ten, the only thing you're hearing really is about the Big Ten trying to raid the Pac-12. They're thinking about USC, right? They're thinking maybe Oregon, Washington, UCLA, some kind of package there from the Pac-12 that would potentially go along with that because the Big Ten needs to aim big here. They're trying to take down or compete with the SEC. That's about all that's left on the board is USC and the powers that be out west. And then you're talking about the ACC. And I've seen a little bit of scuttlebutt about that. Dennis Dodd had mentioned, hey, maybe the Big Ten tries to go after Clemson, Florida State at some point here. The point being, the Big Ten has tons of options. And the only reporting that you're really seeing is about the Big Ten thinking or evaluating their options and maybe going after some of the big fish there, which totally makes sense because they're in a rat race right now with the SEC. So if the Big Ten has tons of options, right, and all kinds of time, I mean, there's no clock saying, hey, by the end of the week, by the start of football season, you guys need to have something else in place or added. There's no real ticking time bomb there, pressure for the Big Ten. I mean, we still have a long ways to go before the Texas and Oklahoma thing even gets sorted out as to when they're going to be able to go to the SEC. If you have all these options, why are you going to go ahead and grab early on the one that you can just text you up to at 1 a.m. and get a response every time? Because that's Kansas. Like, if the Big Ten calls at any time, Kansas is picking up the phone and eagerly answering that thing. So at 6:30 p.m., you're going to text the sure thing that you know will respond to you at 1 a.m. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. You have to think about the motives here. The report is coming from the KU side of things. KU sources, they're the ones motivated to make you think that this is happening because they have fans that they want to assuage, right? And you're just always going to get something that comes through the lens and the filter of the school it is, the people that you're talking about. There is much more reason to be positive about something like this if you're Kansas than it is the Big Ten. But there are two parties here. It takes two to tango. So pay attention to the sourcing here, pay attention to the options the Big Ten has. Let's look realistically at the situation the Big Ten is in. And on top of that, man, again, I will reiterate, we are not seeing national media members, the Bruce Feldmans, the Stuart Mandells of the world, the Pete Thamels of the world. We are not seeing people like that latch onto this really at all. The only responses we've seen have been either Stuart Mandel arguing back and forth or a tongue-in-cheek comment from Brett McMurphy. And in fact, I'd like to reference a Stuart Mandel tweet here because I thought he did a great job of laying out some of the numbers and why it is that Kansas would not be really all that valuable in conference realignment despite an elite basketball program. And look, I can admit to that. Kansas has an elite basketball program and an elite basketball brand. But here's what Mandel says. I'm being pelted by Kansas hoops fans already the Big Ten. So here's some math. Bob Bowlesby said the Big 12's TV deal, $250 million a year, is 50% Oklahoma and Texas. So remove them, you got $125 million. TV deals are 80% football. And that's something I talked to Stuart Mandel last week. You can see the interview here on the channel. I talked to him last week and he told me the same thing. TV deals are 80% football. That's what he's been told by TV execs. So 80%, you subtract that from the 125, you got $25 million left. $25 million for Big 12 basketball. That's one half of what the Big Ten makes in TV revenue per school. So the numbers just don't add up. Basically, what that tells you is Kansas does not add monetary value to the Big Ten. And that means if you add Kansas, now you're bringing in the same amount of money on the TV contract and splitting it one extra way. So the math just doesn't really add up. Look, I know Kansas fans want to believe their basketball brand, their proximity to Kansas City, which is obviously in question. It's like 45 minutes away. It's kind of a suburb of a suburb, if you really want to call it that. But Kansas fans want to believe that, combined with being an AAU school, is going to be enough to make them a slam dunk to go somewhere. I think Kansas is probably going to be fine. I think they're in a better position than most, slightly, of the rest of the 8 in the Big 12, but I don't think it's any kind of slam dunk that they're headed to the Big 10, and I certainly don't think it's a slam dunk that they're headed there imminently. So, look, to me, this just had all the makings of your typical conference realignment story. Sources, imminent, what I'm hearing, follow me on Twitter. A lot of people try to do that. Everybody wants in on it. I'm not going to buy this right now until I would see some legitimate national sources really going after this. So, that's it. That's the latest on Kansas to the Big Ten. I would just caution everybody, just be careful. Be careful with what it is. Just take everything with a grain of salt unless it is just an ironclad source, because there's a lot that swirls around here in conference realignment. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like the video, comment. All of that really helps me out. And it's fun, man. We're here for college football. We're here because we love college sports. The rivalries are fun. The passion is fun. Let me know about it in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon.